Hello,
Hello,
Natalie.
bonjour
I'm glad to
Nathalie.
meet you here
Je suis
today.
ravie de te
How are you?
retrouver ici
For the Icon
aujourd'hui.
School
Est-ce
community,
que tu
can
vas
you
bien?
introduce
Est-ce que
yourself a little
pour
bit,
la
even if you
communauté
are
du Wine
already
School,
well
tu peux
known
te
on
présenter
Facebook?
un petit peu, même si tu es déjà très connu sur Facebook?
Hello,
Je vais.
Galatée.
Je
I
m'occupe
take
de la
care of the Chateau's
communication du château
communication,
et je
so I do a
fais
lot of
beaucoup de photos,
photography,
beaucoup de
a lot of
textes.
text.
Je donne des
I
cours
teach in
dans
various
différentes
higher schools in
écoles
Bordeaux
scolaires de
related to the world
Bordeaux
of
en
wine,
lien
and
avec le monde du
recently,
vin.
I
Et
have been
depuis
working on an
fin, je
artistic
suis sur
project which
un
makes me
projet
discover
artistique
passionate wine growers in all
qui me
regions of
fait
France. The
découvrir
idea is to show all
des
the emotions
distributeurs
that have
passionnés
contributed to
dans
the
toute la
creation
région
of
de
their wine,
France.
and so I take
L'idée est
pictures.
de
I
montrer un
asked
peu
about
toutes
their
ces
history and it will
émotions
normally end on a book for the
qui ont
general public.
concouru à la
Here it
création de
is,
leur vin.
in a few
Donc je fais des
words.
photos, je les interroge, j'écoute leurs histoires et ça va normalement déboucher sur un livre destiné au grand public. Voilà, en quelques mots.
It's
C'est
great,
génial, tu
you
l'as très bien
summarized it very
résumé.
well.
Et c'est aussi par
And
cette
it is
part
also through this
sensible
sensitive
de
part
ton
of your
travail
work
que
that I
je
have get in
rentre en
touch with
connexion
you,
avec toi,
particularly on
notamment
Facebook,
sur
and this
Facebook,
is what
et
allows
c'est
us
ce
today
qui
to
nous permet
create this
aujourd'hui de
sharing.
créer ce partage.
Beyond us, I think we
Au-delà de
both want to
nous,
share
je
more
pense qu'on a tous les
widely.
deux envie de
Because
partager
in what
plus
is at
largement,
play, this
parce
period
que
changes today.
dans ce
This
qui se
sensitive
joue,
part of
dans ce
wine, this emotion
basculement
around
d'époque
wine,
aujourd'hui,
is a key to
cette
success.
part
So I
sensible
propose
du
to
vin,
you,
cette
as we
émotion autour du
anticipated,
vin est
to
une
talk
clé de
about women in
succès.
wine.
Alors
And
je
given
te
that I am a
propose,
lot in
comme
new
on a
technologies,
anticipé, de
and I
parler
also
des
work in
femmes du vin.
futurology.
Et
So
étant
maybe,
donné
I
que
can
je
do it
suis
also on
encore
what
dans
you can
les domaines
summarize for us
technologiques,
in
je suis dans
relation
les
to your current
scientologie,
work
peut-être
and the
que
writing of this
aussi
book.
sur ce que tu peux nous synthétiser par rapport à ton travail actuel et l'écriture de ce livre.
So, in
Dans
relation to
la
this
lettre, c'est sûr que je vais
situation,
chercher la
I will rather
poésie, je vais
seek
plutôt chercher
poetry. I will
l'émotion,
rather
chercher à
seek
toucher les
emotion,
personnes.
seek to
De
reach
nouveau, je dis
people.
pas qu'il y a
I'm
un
not
plus
saying
que
that there
l'autre,
is one
mais
better
les
than
deux
the
sont
other,
complémentaires
but the
et
two are
franchement, je me dis, on n'a
complementary.
pas complexe à
Frankly,
avoir.
I tell
Nous, les
myself
femmes,
that
on a notre
we have no
rapport à donner
complex
et
to
puis c'est
have.
nous,
We,
dans la
women, we
photo,
have our
dans le livre.
contribution to give,
Donc voilà,
including
ça
in the
en
photo
bref.
of the wine world. Well,
Exactement.
here it
Et
is
si tu
in
veux, ça me
brief.
fait rebondir
Exactly, and
sur
that makes me
le
bounce back on the
basculement
change of
d'époque
time
dont
which
tu
we know
parles,
since,
puisque
so it is brilliant what you
alors
testify
c'est
to us.
génial ce
On
que
the
tu
other
nous
side,
témoignes,
I work with more men than
mais
women in
de
the
notre
world of
côté, je
wine,
travaille
although I
avec
have many
plus
women in the clubs.
d'hommes que de
And all my
femmes
work,
dans le monde du
so,
vin,
men have the same type of
même si j'ai
affection
beaucoup
with
de
their
femmes dans
wine
le
and their
club.
vines, but it will
Et
be
toi, mon travail,
completely.
si tu veux,
I have a
les
real
hommes
Médoc work to
ont
do to
ce
make them
même
give birth
type
to this love, and this affection,
d'affection
and this emotional
avec leur vin
implication
ou
with their
avec leur
wine.
vigne, mais ça
This
va
is what
être
I also
complètement
call the
dans le vin.
identity of
Et
wine,
j'ai un
or awakening the
véritable
soul of
travail de
wine.
maïeutique à faire
Thus,
pour
it
te
is
faire
already there,
accoucher de
but it
cet
is not
amour et de
named.
cette affection
And at some
et de
point
cette
today, to better
implication
sell what is
émotionnelle avec leur
necessary
vin.
for the
C'est ce que
deployment and
j'appelle aussi
redeployment of wine
l'identité du vin
culture
ou
and the
entre guillemets l'âme
survival
du vin.
and flourishing
Donc
life of
elle est
many
déjà là si tu
professionals
veux,
in
mais
their
c'est pas
vineyard,
nommé.
we have to
Et à un
reconnect with
moment
this
donné
emotion of
aujourd'hui,
wine,
pour
whether one is
mieux
a man
vendre
wine
ce qui est
grower or a
nécessaire
woman wine
au
grower and
déploiement
dares
et
to
au
express
déploiement
it.
de la culture du vin
So, a
et la
woman, you
survie
said it
et la
very
vie
well, is
épanouie
going to
de
express it,
beaucoup de
then, will
professionnels sur
naturally
leur
feel it through
vignoble.
her
Il
feminine,
faut se
and by assuming
reconnecter
her
à cette
masculine,
émotion du vin,
because you still
que
have
l'on
to have
soit
strong
un
backs to run a
vigneron ou
cellar.
une vigneronne,
For
et
example,
oser
following
l'exprimer.
vintages,
Et donc
following
une
this with the
femme, tu l'as très
endometrium,
bien dit,
she
va
has already
l'exprimer
forced her masculine, the
alors,
masculine being the passage
va
to action to
naturellement
express
par
this
son
emotion of the
féminin le
feminine.
ressentir.
So,
Et en
finally,
assumant
you
son
find people
masculin,
like
parce qu'il faut quand même
Sylvie,
avoir les
in
reins
addition with
solides
the trials
pour
of life,
déclencher
which brings you to be in your full power with a
suivant les
masculine
vendanges,
and a
suivant sa
feminine
langue de lettres.
balance.
Elle a déjà forcément poussé
In
son
men,
masculin,
the masculine will be
étant le
strong and the
passage à l'action,
feminine completely
pour
silent, in
exprimer
the
cette
sense,
émotion de
muted.
son féminin. Donc finalement, tu trouves des êtres comme Sylvie, en plus avec des épreuves de la vie, qui t'amènent à être dans ta pleine puissance, avec un masculin et un féminin équilibrés. Chez les hommes,
Oui.
tu vois, le masculin va être fort et le féminin complètement tu, au sens de en sourdine, hein, tu vois?
Et
And
ce
what
que
I
je trouve
find
très
very
intéressant dans ce que
interesting
tu
in
dis,
what you
c'est
say
que
is that
justement,
it is
effectivement, elle
precisely,
s'y sent chez
indeed,
les hommes.
they are
Peut-être
in
qu'elles sont
men,
moins
perhaps they
explicites.
are less
Et moi,
explicit.
dans ces
Me,
rencontres que
in
j'ai
the
faites,
meetings
parce que
that I
jusqu'à
do,
présent, j'ai
since
vraiment
so far I
travaillé avec des
clearly
femmes,
saw
donc j'ai
3
pas
men
mal de
and 2
motifs,
women,
enfin
so
pas
I
mal,
saw a lot of
suffisamment.
men too.
Moi, je me suis
Me, I am
effectivement
indeed
attachée
attached to
à
identify
repérer
their
chez eux
poetic side in
leur
them,
côté
which may not
poétique
necessarily be
qui
expressed
n'est
as
peut-être pas
such.
nécessairement
For
explicité.
example,
Il y a
there
par
is a very
exemple un
simple
exemple
example.
tout simple.
There is a
Il y
Burgundy
a un
wine grower,
distributeur de
Thibault,
Bourgogne qui
who,
j'étais là,
showing me a
qui en
plot
me
that he had
montrant le
recently
parcelle qu'il
bought,
avait
he
acheté
said to me, "There you are. This plot is not among the most famous, it's not the most famous place they are, but when I saw it, I found it so beautiful that I thought it could only make good wine." And so me when I heard that, I said to myself, but that's it. But here, it's like a woman, you see, he meets a woman, the woman of his life, she knows that she can give him beautiful children. Exactly, he placed beauty in first, and it is this beauty that has him said, "This will make good wine." And so, to say that these emotions, that poetry, of course, it is also found in men, and I am happy, because I try to spend a day with them every time. I have the joy of trying to spot it, capture it with the photos and everything I write. Exactly. In any way, all the great journalists, all major accompanying the wine world, even the great wine growers, etc., it is the sensitive part of the wine that they will capture and deploy. It was simply not said, or said between us, or between people who understood each other, or in an intimate confession, or in the hollow of a book. And today, in the shift that we are experiencing, you see, I am not teaching you anything, you know that we are entering the era of Aquarius. Dear Galatée, you are teaching me completely, because the futurology side, astrology, etc., it is one of the things about you that I did not understand. I am simply saying it, and so there you are teaching me. Okay. And then, in this age of Aquarius, all that we have known there, in 2020, and what we will know in 2021, so I'm very synthetic, it's a crisis of adolescence. Where, indeed, one must deconstruct in order to reconstruct, and fully assume its feminine and masculine, in general globally, and also in wine. Me, I have a lot of women too, who have this sensitivity. I have in the club, someone who has just started, which is in fact in this, and who is blocked in the passages in the action. Passage to action is masculine, that is to say, that at a given moment, you have this sensitivity, you have this poetry, someone who is in biodynamic, you see, who is really on the sensitive aspect, but you have to go forward, you have to sell. And it's a complete rebalancing, and where it's magnificent, is that the wine lover in front of us, we had dinner, I don't see any other expression, technical list, vintage in green, metal, comment, so there you go. Him, what captures his attention is the image, it's what you do, it's the sensitivity of the image, the sensitivity of the video and the sensitivity, me, why I get wine growers to speak on video is because, whether they are intimidated by the camera or their voice shakes, their love for their wine, their involvement, body and soul in their profession is felt. And we don't ask them to be Brad Pitt, we ask them to pass on the passion for their wine, and that's great.
Leur implication, corps et âme dans leur métier se ressent. Et on leur demande pas d'être Brad Pitt, on leur demande de transmettre la passion de leur vin.
Again, we are on the same point of view, because indeed, so I told you this book, I hope it will be intended for the general public, because my teacher side, I want to explain, but precisely nothing at all technical, I want to explain and convey through emotions, and precisely to underline this way, each of the wine growers that I have been met, I give them a little video, you know what the means at hand, where I tell them, give me a few words for my students, or for this book because, there may be a digital version, I don't know. What makes the heart, the passion of your profession. Not technical sheets. No aspects to explain to customers. Exactly, but the passion, and it's very interesting to hear each of these wine growers tell their passion, you see. And you're right, because today a paper book is necessarily at one point or another, linked to digital, and it is this switch. So, often we can see the shift as a technical shift when in fact it is, beyond technology, it is an emotional shift. And there, I'm not talking about the COVID here. But that you see the weight of emotions in economic events, it has never been so enormous. I will stop there, and to bounce back on what you said, there is a super important thing, I believe in sharing with our community of wine professionals, you say it in relation to women, but it is also true, that, in relation to men who are beginning to express this sensitivity in relation to their wine. When you start something new it's human, you have imposter syndrome, so if you want it.
Tu l'as dit par rapport aux femmes, mais c'est vrai aussi par rapport aux hommes qui commencent à exprimer cette sensibilité par rapport à leur vin. Quand tu démarres quelque chose de nouveau, c'est humain, tu as le syndrome de l'imposteur. Donc, si tu veux...
For me, I prefer to tell you what it is. I try photos because I am self-taught. There you are, I hit him earlier. That's why I said to myself that we have to talk about it because, when you think you are the only one there to have this, and hence the thing is that it is commonly shared. You have two syndromes in the world of wine which are, and in fact this switchover you can have it between two syndromes. The expert syndrome, you see when you were between inverted commas, an expert in your old life was and you switched to a new life, you switch from expert syndrome to imposter syndrome. And then, after you will do the shift again once you'll be an expert and you will switch again. So for a woman, you see, at the beginning, she may have the imposter syndrome and suddenly, she will ask herself more in hygiene, she will ask herself more in rigor, she will ask herself, because she has this imposter syndrome, she is over-demanding in relation to her work and therefore, she will do better. And there, where it's great, is when you have a man who, that I find is magnificent in the time, when you have a wine man, because you see, if you have a man another, in fashion or a man in agreement, okay, but a man in wine is a man, you see, he's a man, and when you have a man in wine who begins to open his sensitive part in communication, he assumed it as best he can with this imposter syndrome, and to demand more of himself, to overcome his imposter syndrome, and to become an expert in communication, passion and love of wine. It's like you have a man who is extremely in love with his wife. There is nothing more beautiful. You see, he makes everyone fond, and there it is the same. Then, as much in the wine it goes badly, as much you see there is a lot of bad news, as much is enough. I'm not talking about Burgundy, we're not going to talk about that here, but there is a global reservoir of growth, development of liberation, of extraordinary healing. That's why, I think what brings us both together, is that, yes, the feminine, assumed by men, and the masculine assumed by women in emotion, in sensitivity, it is the future of wine. Because, the common denominator of the masculine, and the feminine, and of wine, is love. And if that's not an emotion, I don't see what it is, and then love, without photo, love, without poetry, love, without a book, love, without a woman like you or me, then, at aperitif time we can talk about it, you see we will miss it. I think that's great for that.
Tu vois, je vois pas ce que c'est. Et alors, l'amour sans photo, l'amour sans poésie, l'amour sans livre, l'amour sans femme comme toi ou moi, à l'heure de l'apéro pour en parler. Tu vois, on passera à côté. Donc je trouve l'époque géniale pour ça.
What I hear anyway in everything you say about the imposter syndrome, I find this imposter syndrome extremely interesting, which ultimately, a motor to surpass oneself, is that chance made that the various wine growers, to whom I went because finally I was with those who, first of all who accepted to welcome me and then also where I felt compared to the fact that the men I have met are all retrained, so it's all if you want, former experts on something who become imposters the next day, and who finally after a while are extraordinary. It really goes into what you said. And you see the reconvention towards organic, towards biodynamics. It is also for a man to assume a significant part in relation to the future generation, and it ultimately connects their maternal side in the preservation of nature. And so, I find this, and there is so much bad news all the time. That is why I tell you please in our sharing, because it is beyond our work, beyond our daily lives, beyond our constraints, it's our emotions, it's our passion, it's our enthusiast who connects, and who allows, you see if we dare, to talk about it freely like that, imagine how liberating it can be indeed, a mirror effect for many people in the world of wine, for women also for men.
Imagine à quel point ça peut être libérateur en effet miroir pour beaucoup de gens dans le monde du vin. Femmes, messieurs.
But yes, so what I see mainly through the camera is the beauty of things, in fact, and it's a reservoir which, precisely, optimizes if we want, to stay positive. It is so beautiful, this world of wine. There are so many beautiful things in all stages, at all stages. There you go. And we need images because, before, it was a lot of text. I'm not talking about old-fashioned websites, you know, with pages, and text pages. Today, it's photos, beautiful photos, and spontaneous video. We do not ask you, with a drone, the 4 seasons of Vivaldi. We ask you to express who you are, who is your wine, and qualitatively, to have beautiful photos. We do not have enough. In the new world, I don't know if you know, Matt Wilson, I love his photos, I love the photos of Maryline too.
J'adore les photos aussi de Marilyn.
Yes. There are a few, and then, when you ask a lot of wine growers, you see, Sylvie, even if she also takes very beautiful photos. In the club, I have Clara, in Champagne, who also makes a very nice photo, you see, we get back to it. And, I didn't take beautiful photos, but by dint of making videos, you understand, in terms of light, and you end up taking beautiful photos, but I had to wait an age that, I dare not say, to succeed in taking beautiful photos. You see, so in the shift before, all was hidden and written, today, everything becomes visible, and we complete each other. You see, the email has not replaced the mail, messenger has not replaced the email, the photo does not replace the text but takes precedence, the video does not replace the photo but it is complementary.
La vidéo ne remplace pas la photo mais est complémentaire.
Absolutely, because in fact, the photo sheds light on elements that are there but that we do not always see actually, but that the photographer spot at such moment and to make rediscover, even sometimes to the own wine grower concerned, because yes, there is someone from outer who arrives, who shows them with his own eyes what he saw, so it's true, the photo has a lot of future, it's obvious. And so, this theme of the feminine, of sensitivity, of balance, of feminine inspiration, with passages to masculine action, that will occupy us for the next 10 years, I think we are gone a good time. For the whole life, in my opinion, Galatée, we are not finished. We both have time to become an expert on this subject. Thank you. It is time to open a bottle, but we will do it in off. Thank you all. Like and share this video to women, of course, to men, and then, you can write us in private message, ask us your questions, we will be happy to answer you. Ciao ciao.
Vous pouvez nous écrire en message privé l'une l'autre, nous poser vos questions, on sera ravis de vous répondre. Ciao ciao.
Goodbye, Galatée.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, thank you, it was great.